Good evening, and thank you for allowing me a few minutes to speak. My name is Sharon Semino. I live at 37 Orchard Drive, Brightwaters. I'm here tonight to advocate for the building of the new animal shelter. I also want to thank you and Commissioner Howell for getting the TNR program going. It's been a great success. I'm a town vice president, and I'm also a humane volunteer for the Suffolk County SPCA. A few weeks ago, the SPCA rescued 35 cats and kittens from a hoarding situation out east. When the cats were first brought to the SPCA mesh unit, many of them exhibited feral characteristics. However, after less than 48 hours of food, water, a warm blanket, and continuous human contact, these cats no longer presented feral traits. Cats that had been cowering in the corner, hissing and scratching, were now purring and head for affection. After only 2 days, the feral quality ceased because the cats were no longer hungry and in pain. Thankfully, these loving animals are now being fostered by many wonderful rescues, giving them their second chance. I bring up this hoarding case because I found it very similar to the tragic events of last year when a West Fiserv resident was found deceased, leaving behind over 20 cats. Unfortunately, we will never know what could have become of those cats since they were all euthanized by the Islip Animal Shelter. Apparently, these cats had been labeled as sickly and feral. However, what they were starving, dehydrated, and in pain from not having been fed for at least a week. I don't know about you, but when I'm hungry or in pain, I'm not very much hungry around either. Had the websites of cats been given just a few days of food, water, care, and proper health assessment, perhaps they would have shown their true temperament. Perhaps they would have been adopted to loving homes. But due to the lack of space and resources, a very hasty and very wrong decision was made to destroy those innocent animals. Now please understand, I am not here to criticize the shelter employees. In fact, Terry does the best humanly possible job she can do despite the limitations she has in the current state of the undersized, antiquated shelter. I don't think any shelter employee goes into the field wanting to put an animal to sleep. It's heartbreaking for any shelter employee to go home feeling guilty knowing they euthanized a dog or cat due to the lack of space or resources. It is unfair, it's unacceptable, and it's cruel. So I urge you, I beg you, please approve the proposal for a new, larger, state-of-the-art animal shelter. If this proposed new shelter does not become a reality, you will be doing a disservice to the animals, a disservice to the taxpayers that voted you into office, and a disservice to your loyal employees of the Islip Animal Shelter, forced to make life and death decisions every single day. Thank you for your time. Alicia Frank on deck.
Sharon, just one.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Okay.
Alicia Frank on deck. Speaking.
I'm on deck.
Jones on deck.
Okay. Hello, my name is Alicia Frank, and I'm 15 Hiawatha Drive, Brightwaters, New York. Okay. She wants me to Okay. Hello to the board. I'm sure you all know who I am already. I'm here tonight to show my support for the new animal shelter. At the last meeting that I attended, I was emotional, and I talked about how we all failed the 22 cats that were surrendered to the shelter and ultimately euthanized due to one of the facts that there's no room to securely quarantine the animals to assess their medical condition properly. One of the benefits of the new animal shelter is that it will be properly equipped to handle situations such as this without panic and rash decisions that are made that are not in the best interest of these animals. Another benefit of the new animal shelter is the cattery. The cats and kittens deserve a chance to show their potential adopters that they're full of life and love, and they cannot do that in little cages with no room to move about. Can you imagine living in something about this size? Now, I had a prop, but I was unable to bring it in. It's maybe a 2x2 at best. Can you imagine living in that and hoping every day someone feels sorry enough to adopt you so you can get out of it? Can you imagine how scared you would be in a situation like this? All with a ticking clock on your head, because if you don't get adopted, your time's up. But whatever their situation was before entering the shelter, they were failed. And obviously, that's why we ended up there. But we are continuing to fail them by giving them no room to move about to impress their potential adopters. No room to run and play, and not even a chance to live their last remaining days cage-free. The dogs and puppies deserve better too. They are living in a shelter that was built in the 1960s, and it's not equipped to handle them properly. Even though I'm sure some provisions have been made to make them comfortable, it's not good enough. They deserve a better ventilation system and more room also. How can anyone truly believe that this rundown shelter is suitable to be the stepping stone to a new life for these animals? I urge the 2 board members that voted no to now vote yes for the new animal shelter, because the animals deserve better and you have the power to make that happen for them. I'd like to end by saying that unfortunately, as some of us know, ISIP Shelter hasn't had the best reputation. But what better way to gain a new reputation than to have a new start? Please vote yes to the new animal shelter. Yeah, come on.
I'm Barbara Carrick. I live at 65 Woodland Drive, East Islip. I kind of snuck up here, and I want you all to know why. I'm giving Donna Rinaldi $50 because one of the cats that was referred to the town of Islip shelter that I didn't trap for the last clinic was pregnant, and she went and got it the next day and gave birth at her house. So we have to do this. It's also, okay, I know.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Have a good night. Thank you.
Christina Jones and Marco Maldonado.
Good evening, Steve Jones, 188 South Ocean Avenue in Bayport. I'd just like to make a couple of general observations about the town capital spending program. I think it's ironic, and I know you do, that you have to collect all property taxes for all jurisdictions, and yet you only control 3% of the property tax bill. A large portion of that 3% maybe goes to various town expenses, but certainly the capital program, I think, is critical to the quality of life in the town of Islip. The quality of life in the town of Islip, I think, is an important aspect of why businesses locate here and why they stay here. So that, in my opinion, if the town elects to say, hey, we want to do our best to cut taxes and postpone a lot of capital spending, I think it's heading down a wrong path, and the end game there is that it's going to cost more to maintain the town's infrastructure down the road further than it is now. And I'll just leave you with one observation, which is that I think businesses who do locate in a town and want to stay in a town, they look at tax breaks, they look at the labor force, but they also look at the quality of life for themselves and for their employees. And I think if the quality of life can be maintained through a proper town capital spending program, I think that's absolutely critical to the health of our community and the health of the town of Islip and the health of the businesses in the town of Islip. So please consider this. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Marco Maldonado. On deck, Joseph Shomalo.
Good evening, Tom. Marcos Maldonado, 156 Suffolk Avenue, Brooklyn, New York, 11717. Thank you all for giving me the opportunity to address you today. You know, I'll start off with a question. How do we properly honor someone who has dedicated their life to the improvement of the town? You know, how do we say thank you? And when I had an opportunity to think about someone who inspired me to get involved in the work that I do in the town, you know, that person, Ms. Sandra M. Gill, resonates like an imprint in my mind. Sandra Gill has dedicated her life to the Brownwood community in a way that not only I look up to, but in a way that I feel should be remembered by the town. See, Sandra Gill worked in the Brownwood Recreation Center in her various capacities with nonprofits, with the Suffolk County Health Department, in order to ensure that all our residents had access to the resources they needed in terms of medicine, to the information that was important for them in order to live happier, healthier lives. Over the last 20 years, Sandra has been dedicated to this one ideal. Coming back from Rochester as a young adult, I saw Sandra committed to the community as something special. She's been there with me every single step of the way since I started the Clean Sheets Committee. When I joined the group up the Brentwood, she was there giving advice to one of our founding members, telling us to continue on, be strong, and support what we feel is right. It's with honor, really, and a true honor that I asked the town to really consider naming the community room at Brentwood Recreation Center, the Sandra M. Gill Community Room at the Brentwood Recreation Center. And I speak for the entire Uplift Brentwood group when I say that we fully 100% support and endorse the name change or resolution that was on the paper here for the community room at the Brentwood Recreation Center to be named the Sandra M. Gill Community Room. I know as a member of the group, we have seen many things, on many opposite ends of the spectrum, but I look forward to working with you guys and being there with you when we can cut that bridge. Thank you.
Dave Roman on deck.
Good evening, Joseph Chalom, 11 Union Avenue, Islip. I applaud the earlier speaker's remarks about the need to address climate change in our town, clean up and prevent toxic waste sites, and keep Islip a suburban residential town. We need more board meetings at night like this so concerned citizens can come out and air their grievances. I'm here because I reject the expansion of the parking meters in this town, at our train lots and on our main streets. People who work in the city are already spending about $400 a month just to go to the city on the train every day. Parking meters on our main streets, they're going to discourage people from coming and shopping at our local businesses, which is the lifeblood of our communities. I've heard the argument that meters help businesses by freeing up spaces for their customers. But to this, I ask, why? In Babylon Village, where I worked for years, every December, why do they suspend their parking meter programs? They say it's to encourage shopping in their districts. If their implementation and expansion are inevitable, I ask, why are proceeds slotted for the town's general fund instead of being specifically designated for improving the condition of our communities? Which, again, I speak about Babylon Village. You drive through the town of Babylon, it looks so much nicer, the parks are so much nicer, everything is so much nicer than what we have here in the town of Islip, which I'm a proud 30-year resident of. I'm a 12-year member of the Islip Fire Department right down the street, and I love my town. This is the latest blunder by the town board, which cannot clear the atmosphere of legalized bribery and corruption that seeps into our government through donations and permits, among many other things. I also remind you all here behind me that this board has voted to give themselves raises, while at the same time Roberto Clemente Park still remains closed. Thank you.
William Turan on deck.
Good evening. My name is David Robin. I reside at 66 Harp Lane in Sayville. Town supervisor, board members. My issue is in regard to 55 Harp Lane. kind of glad I went almost last year, and I'm glad that Mr. DeSicchio's office was able to provide an update earlier, because quite frankly, I couldn't get my speech under 3 minutes. So I cut a lot out. But what I will ask is, I just want acknowledgement that all of the board members are well aware of the issue at 55 Park Lane, okay? So to provide some history, the owner of that property right now is saying, according to the town attorney's office, that the house is for sale, it's got a for sale sign on the front lawn, it may or may not be for sale, that's fine. Another main concern is the fact that this owner is intending on purchasing or being a co-owner of the nursing home on Broadway Avenue. As a result, 55 Park Lane is not going to be an isolated incident, all right? So I'll just read a couple of the parts of my speech that are still relevant. We're appealing to the town for proactive measures preventing this and other homes in the area from becoming what are essentially boarding houses for employees by the nearby nursing home. The boarding style rental of a house that he owns will bolster his ownership of the nursing home, displacing American workforce for foreign workers. Based on the owner's stated intentions and business practices, we believe that the town board should work with the town attorney's office to conduct an investigation, or at least proactively inform the owner that boarding would violate town code and he should not proceed as planned. Any subsequent rental permit applications for this owner should also undergo similar scrutiny as to prevent an identical situation at another address within the neighborhood. If this type of boarding situation goes unchecked now, it opens the door for many like it, either from this landlord or others with similar motives. The recently approved senior living facility to be built on the old farm on Broadway across from Target would also provide opportunities for employers and headhunters to fill staffing needs and provide housing. Again, that type of housing and living arrangement is not what Sayville or the town of Islip is about. These are zoned single-family use for a reason, dotting our neighborhood with family-oriented town with boarding houses, regardless of who is living there, will forever change the character of the neighborhood, reduce property values, and make our community less safe overall. We love our town, feel privileged to live here, we have ties to the community, our children plan on raising their children here. In closing, the residents of Park Lane strongly oppose the rental of any property in the aforementioned manner.
William Moran. Halor Mori Mancera. Osman Canales. Osman Canales. Dan Mazzella. On deck is Andy Whitman.
Denzel, 435 Vanderbilt Boulevard, Oakdale, New York.
Could you speak into the microphone, please?
Oh, sorry, can you hear me now? Okay. Denzel, 435 Vanderbilt Boulevard, Oakdale, New York. Just want to speak for a moment about what is probably the least controversial item on the agenda tonight. Item number 6, the sale of a parcel of land in Oakdale by parents. And I just want to speak in support of that. Recently we went to purchase this property, which we border both to the west and to the south, is because we just want to maintain it as it is, as a vacant parcel, and then maintain it, which right now it isn't being maintained, it's rather overgrown, and there are a number of trees in there that actually have termite damage or carpet rights, we're not able to serve it. So we'd like just to get out to the property so we can clean it up. We have no intentions of building it, and we're happy to accept any government restrictions to include further development. Because we're pleasing Oakdale residents, and we welcome their relationship as it is. And we'd be happy to speak to anyone on that matter, and we got along that area, so I yield the rest of my time. Thank you.
Thank you. Andy Whitman, on deck, Joe Fritz.
Good evening, Andy Whitman, 308 Lincoln Avenue in Sable. Came here tonight to discuss the infrastructure, capital budget, and bond resolution. But before I begin on that, I actually just want to stand in solidarity with my fellow Sable residents regarding what they're running into on Hart Lane. As a real estate development investor, I deal with clients like the doctor that they're dealing with, and that afterwards, if anybody wants to go up there, I have a bunch of solutions that we could probably approach on that. I'd love to help you guys out. But getting to my point of being here tonight, Madam Supervisor, the rest of the town board, regarding the infrastructure, capital budget, and bond resolutions, we are at the best time in the town of Islip right now with our AAA bond rating to move forward with these types of infrastructure that are direly needed. I don't work for the town. I don't know anybody that works at the Islip Town Animal Shelter, but I've been there myself many times. And yes, they are in dire need of a new facility. With good infrastructure, property values, without good infrastructure, property values decrease. Corresponding real estate sales go down, and corresponding revenue generated from mortgage tax diminishes, which affects the town's bottom line. With a AAA bond rating, for those that are in the audience that don't necessarily understand this, it's like getting a mortgage at 3%. If you have bad credit, you're going to pay 6 or 7%. The supervisor, the town board, you've done a wonderful job these past couple of years increasing us to a AAA bond rating, which is the highest. It's like an 850 credit score. It's the highest that a town can receive. This is the best time to invest in our town, to invest in our community, and to invest in our future. I thank you.
On deck, Renee Ortiz.
Good evening, Angie. Joe Fritz, Brentwood, New York. Over the last few weeks, I've suggested that the town retool itself. By retool itself, I mean create an IDA board that is independent from the current IDA board, which consists of the supervisor and our council persons. As I've stated earlier, it is a conflict. When one runs for political office, outside resources are necessary to finance political campaigns. Jerry Wolkoff has never been a politician he didn't like. The Heartland developer uses his IDA tax reductions to finance political campaigns. Not only the town of Islip, but the politicians throughout Long Island. Why should we change the current IDA board? Well, a famous politician stated that money is the mother's milk in politics. Tip O'Neill, a politically astute leader, used these words carefully. The Industrial Development Agency should not be used as cannon fodder for budding politicians. You invite conflict of interests. I suggest you look at other towns, Brookhaven, Babylon, and Riverhead, who all have separate IDAs, unlike Islip Town. Angie, you can't do it alone. I suggest that supervisor and town council make political transparency a reality, not something that is to be strived for. Do the right thing by following a different beat. I have one other further comment. Andy, I know you have the gavel, the bell, and the gong to tell us when we're done. But what I don't like is the comments from the town after we speak, without giving the taxpayer, we, the people who pay the taxes, the opportunity to rebut your comments. To not permit this is rude and behavior of a bully. Now, I may be overstating the point, but sometimes one must do that to make a point. I've not been alone in my complaints. I've been to enough town board meetings to see views often, especially when one disagrees with the sovereign. Thank you.
Greg, Pepe on deck.
Good evening, Madam Supervisor, Town Board. I'm going to reread a letter I had submitted to you all. I'm sure you most...
Name and address, please.
Oh, I'm sorry, Renee Ortiz, 1257 Connect Drive in Central Islip. I'm sure you've seen this letter, but It's an emotional letter for me, so it was difficult for me to put it back into words, so I'm just going to read this letter. Dear Honorable Islip Town Board members, Sandra Gill is a 30-year resident who has touched the lives of countless town and community members through her advocacy efforts. As a committed community advocate, numerous times Sandra has fearlessly spoken out for those who have no voice. To say Sandra's civic engagement is exceptional is an understatement. The biography I attached included a comprehensive list of the organizations she's worked with and the accolades she's received. What the bio does not reflect and cannot reflect is Sandra's deep passion to effect positive change in our community. It is through her personal experience as an Ecuadorian immigrant and naturalized U.S. citizen that she gained such a strong understanding and appreciation of civic duty and engagement. Although Sandra has fought many battles for our community, now she is facing one of the greatest battles of her life. Last year, she was diagnosed with a very aggressive uterine cancer that has reached stage 3. She has exhausted all her treatment options, but is continuing to fight as only Sandra knows how. We are appealing to the hearts of the town board for what might sound like an unorthodox dedication. We, the residents of the community Sandra has given so much of her life to, wish to request the downstairs community room of the Brentwood Recreation Center be named in her honor. Sandra has organized and facilitated dozens of programs and health fairs over the years in that very room. We can think of no better way to honor her legacy of community service in life rather than in memoriam than to place a plaque in the downstairs space of the Brentwood Recreation Center that bears the name, the Sandra M. Gill Community Room. The community friends of Sandra M. Gill would be honored to underwrite the plaque books. We thank you in advance for your consideration of this request, and we look forward to working with you to bring it to fruition. I'd like to add on a personal note that I have known Sandra Gill for nearly 20 years, and she has been truly a mentor to me in teaching me about civic engagement and about community organizing. And I hope that you can honor this request. Thank you.
Corey Pepe, Islip, New York. I'm here tonight to talk about transparency. And Ms. Carpenter, when you had the State of the Town address in January, you said you were going to make it very transparent in your government. Well, at the February board meeting, I had mentioned to you, if you had any notification from the New York State DEC in the application filed by the Green Rail Transfer, I had received no answer. But the DEC did notify you, and I have a letter right here. It was received by your office, with your stamp on it, on November 10th, 2016. The letter was actually dated 11/2/2016. Now, why was this withheld from the community of Holbrook and Holtsville within the Islip Town line residents? Until you furnished the DEC in January 24, 2017, they never really had a chance, because on page 2 of the notification, of complete notification application, it gives the residents until 11/25/2016 for comments on the project. So why did you keep this from the people at ground zero, exposing them to these toxics and what was going to take place there? Now, my other topic is going to be on the exchange angles of the Islip. And we were told by Mr. Flyer that this building was not in New York State Code at the November 22nd, 2016 meeting. It was an unsafe building. Well, if you look at the word unsafe, it's the same thing as saying it's a dangerous building. But it's not, because in 2004, it was issued a certificate of compliance from our own building department. But what gets confusing is the exchange ambulance leases the building. In other words, their tenants, the town of Islip, or us, the residents, own the building. Now, if they need more room, they should look for a different location. One comes to mind would be right on the corner of Carlton Avenue and Union Boulevard, it was the old maintenance facility garages. These are drive-through bays, you have about 15 slots that can be utilized, okay? You have directions from east to west on Union, and north to south on Colton. So why are we going to spend $6.5 million of tax money when Mr. Bolson has it, I think since 2012 being vacant? Let them rent it from him and save us $6.5 million. All right, because enough is enough. We had RS1 from Holbrook to Bayport to West Isaac to Brightwood, all over. We're going to unite here because we're 330,000 strong. And our votes are going to count. I'm an independent, I don't believe in you, Carter. I'll stand on my own 2 feet. But the person that I want sitting up there has to represent us. And to Mr. Flannery, if Ms. Bernie or Ms. Mullins vote against a decision that should be respected, not question why they voted no. Because they voted no to save our pockets.
Thank you, Mr. Pepe.
All right?
Hi. My name is Jennifer Gale, 79 Jewel Street, Brentwood, New York, 11717. I'm here today in regards to renaming the basement downstairs in the Brentwood Recreation Center. After my mom's interview. My mom's a model citizen. She has been working in Brentwood, that she made her home. As Renee mentioned, she migrated here from Ecuador as a teenager. And she made Brentwood her home, along with Central Islip and North Bay Shore. In the basement in the Brentwood Recreation Center, she held her annual Building Bridges event, which provided health services, health information, health screenings to the underserved communities of Central Islip, Brentwood, and North Bay Shore. She, besides what everyone else obviously has the privilege of knowing my mom, she is the most amazing person I have ever had the privilege of having in my life, and she is the example that I want to lead by. And I can't think of any other way to honor her than naming the basement in the Brentwood Recreation Center after her. And just to continue the legacy that she has put down in the Brentwood community, and also just the lives that she has touched and she has gotten to know. And it's really emotional for me, and I didn't really think of anything to write, but just to speak from the heart. And I really hope that you consider naming it after my mom.
I'm Jack Vogel.
Good evening, I'm Jose Avila. Actually, I live in Brentwood, but I go to sleep in Wisconsin. I'm with the Brentwood Chamber of Commerce and many other organizations, as you know. One of them is the one with Long Island Latino Health Initiative. That's the organization that Sandra Gill founded many years ago, looking for improvement of the health of our community with education, advocacy, bringing services free to the community. One of the programs that we have with the Long Island Health Initiative is the health fair that's been hosted at the recreational center for many years on the go. As they say, there's no better way to keep her legacy in our community. I remember the hard work. Many of us here in the room are being influenced by her commitment with the community, and she's involved with the Spanish Leadership Initiative, where many of us are alumni. She encourages us to participate, to get involved. Recently, when I visited to the hospital, she was weak, and I asked her if she needed blood donors. She said, Jose, no, they provide me everything, but the community needs it, and we need to do more blood drives. That's Sandra Gill, always thinking in others. Besides her voice was weak, and still, and I just love to see how she's strong, thinking in others. We really encourage you to please give us this, to remember her legacy forever. And what better place, what better time to do it now that she's with us, fighting this cancer that we hope she finishes and be strong and healthy to enjoy and B, that the community is with her and this place be named under her name. Thank you.
And Mary Reeves, last speaker.
Hello everyone, my name is Scott Noble. I live at 389 Cedar here in Iceland. I'm here tonight as a commuter, as someone who rides the train every day for 3 hours to go to work in the city, to come home, to pay my taxes, and then to get up the next morning to do it all over again. I'm here tonight because, like many commuters who couldn't be here tonight because they are currently doing the commute, I'm very strongly opposed to the idea of putting down parking meters at the Islip train station and on Main Street in Iceland. I'm opposed to this idea because nothing I've seen so far has led me to believe that my taxes from this fee, from this not tax, would go towards infrastructure in Iceland. I've not seen anything to tell me that these fees would be going towards roads, bridges, the parking lots, just to general funds, whatever whim boards have. Quick 3 minutes of it. And so I'm strongly opposed to these parking meters. It would be one thing if you came to me and you told me that the town of Islip desperately needed funds for infrastructure, desperately needed funds for something that we all use, in which case I would say, why are you taxing me for it? I'm a hard-working commuter, I already pay my taxes. Why are you going to come after me a second time through these parking fees? Why not tax everybody for something that the town so desperately needs? So I'd like to end my time tonight by giving you a prediction that if towns such as Islip, if towns all over Long Island continue to tax residents a second time without calling it a tax, if you continue to raise the cost of living here on Long Island, while at the same time lowering the quality of life, you're going to see an exodus. The town is going to shrink, the population is going to decrease, the tax base is going to decrease, which I know you don't want. So my recommendation to you would be to either find the money in the funds that this board has already collected through normal taxes, or to raise taxes on everyone so that we can all pay for it at a lower rate. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, sir. Last speaker, Mary Reeves.
Good evening, my name is Mary Reed. I'm 1583 3rd Avenue, Bay Shore. Thank you. This evening I attended the Workers' Memorial Mass at St. Patrick's, and I watched the program because I knew you couldn't be there. And the theme for this evening was solidarity. How we must all protect each other, stand together shoulder to shoulder. And when we do that and we act in accordance in one, we all succeed. And so I'd like to leave that message with you from the priest this evening. Stand together in solidarity because it's worth working for. And so with that in mind, tonight I come before you to offer my support for the Recreation Center in honor to name the room in honor of Sandra O'Neill. I think it's a wonderful idea. She's really served our community. She's served the people of Brentwood. And what a wonderful way to honor her as she's here with us. So I offer my support for that. Number two, I offer my support and ask you to vote for resolution number, wait a minute, hold on. I gotta get to them again. Number 36, Islip Food for Hope. To utilize the town's Islip Ross Park, Brentwood on May 20th. As you know, we work very closely with the town, providing Thanksgiving baskets for many of the needed. Our new leadership is Liz Menard. We ask that please approve this proposal. And lastly, I ask your support for resolution number 50. I believe that if you pass this resolution, you also are giving life to Temple Point of the Roberto Clemente Park. I believe if you prove that, you'll bring a light to the people in Brentwood. And so therefore I ask you to support them. And thank you very much. please stand together in solidarity.
Mayor's last speaker, motion to close public hearing. Motion, yes, and I just add, thank you. On item number 21, we received a letter of, in favor of, from the Child Care Council, accepting in favor of the San Antonio resolution, and on item number 47, bond resolutions, we received a letter from Suffolk County Deputy Fire Coordinator for Fire Island, Brian Henderson, for that he is in favor of the bond. Okay, thank you. While everyone is still being married, I would like, well, first of all, we have a motion and a second to close the public portion. Public portion is closed. I would like to make a motion to take motion in the second, all in favor of closing public hearing. Motion public hearing is closed. All right, in light of the fact that somebody came down and Senator Zorda is here this evening, I want to take resolution 21 out of order and make a motion to include the naming of the community room in the downstairs space at the Brentwood Recreation Center in honor of Sandra Enfield, in recognition of her unparalleled commitment to the community. Motion by Councilman Flowers, second by Councilman Bergen. All those in favor, opposed, please. We will now go to the agenda. First resolution on the agenda is appropriation transfers. Any questions? Motion? Motion by Councilman Hopkins, second by Councilman Water, all those in favor, opposed, so approved. Item 2, authorization of the town clerk to advertise for a public hearing to consider amending the town license reform traffic code. Motion? Motion by Councilman Burton, second by Councilman Water, all those in favor, opposed, so approved. Item 3, authorization of the supervisor to apply for and accept grant funding and execute any additional documentation required for the New York State Farm Transportation Within Number 07608 improvements to the Bay Shore Gateway Park. Motion? Motion by Councilman Hopkins, second by Councilman Water, all those in favor, opposed, so approved. Item 4, authorization to supervise and enter into a contract with the Columbia Company for DPW 2017 parking base stations, shelters, and town as parking facilities. Motion? Motion by Councilman Cochran, second. I'll make that second. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion is approved. Item 5, town authorization to clean up, secure, or demolish certain properties in the town of Islip. Taryn?
Good evening, Madam Supervisor, members of Town Board, Town Clerk, Taryn Brzezinski, Assistant Town Attorney with the Town of Islip, 655 Main Street, Islip, New York. Number 1, to board and clean up the premises located at 8 Roosevelt Avenue, Islip. On this vacant and unsecured property, there now exists unsecured windows, including an open basement window, unsecured doors in the side and rear of the dwelling, and litter and debris, including debris from previously existing structures that have since been demolished, which constitutes a nuisance and presents a fire, safety, and health hazard. Notice of this hearing was provided to all persons with a property interest in this premises.
Any questions? Hearing the motion? Motion by Councilman Burton, second by Councilman Water. All those in favor? Opposed? Please.
Number 2, to board and clean up the premises located at 8 Wendy Lane, Brentwood. On this vacant and unsecured property, there now exists unsecured windows and doors, an unsecured shed, and litter and debris, which constitutes a nuisance and presents a fire, safety, and health hazard. Notice of this hearing was provided to all known persons with a property interest in this premises.
Are there any questions? Hearing the motion? Motion by Councilman Cochran, second by Councilman Water. All those in favor? Opposed? Is approved.
Number 3, to clean up the premises located at 316 Astor Road, West Islip. On this property, there now exists overgrown vegetation and litter and debris, which constitutes a nuisance and presents a fire, safety, and health hazard. Notice of this hearing was provided to all known persons with a property interest in this premises.
Any questions? Hearing none, motion. Motion to approve. Motion by Councilor Murphy, second by Councilor Platten. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved.
Number 4, to board and clean up the premises located at 1882 Railroad Avenue, Holbrook. On this vacant and unsecured property, there now exists several broken and unsecured windows, an unsecured tour stable, an unsecured above-ground pool, overgrown vegetation and litter and debris, which constitutes a nuisance and presents a fire, safety, and health hazard. Notice of this hearing was provided to all known persons with a property interest in this premises.
Excuse me, Council, I believe you said number 4 is 1882 Railroad Avenue.
I did.
Just confirm that?
Yes.
Skip,
We have-
176.
Oh, sorry, I apologize. That was withdrawn from today's.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so we're on 1882 Railroad Avenue.
So repeat.
Are there any questions?
Motion.
Motion by Councilor Crawford, second by Councilor Platten. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved. Number 6.
To clean up the premises located at 1972 Julia Golddock Avenue, Ronkonkoma. On this property, there now exists high grass, overgrown vegetation, and litter and debris, which constitutes a nuisance and presents a fire, safety, and health hazard. Notice of this hearing was provided to all known persons with a property interest in this premises.
This is the parcel that the neighbors came down to advocate for the cleanup. Motion by Councilor McLaren.
Second.
Second by Councilor Platten. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Item 6 has been withdrawn. We will go to item 7. It is an acceptance of deed from Town of Essex CDA for a parcel of land located at 515 New Hampshire Avenue in Bay Shore. Any questions? The hearing on motion.
Motion.
Motion by Councilor Flower, second. Second. By Councilor Long, all those in favor? Opposed? It is approved. The next item is withdrawals. Any questions? Hearing on motion. Motion by Councilor Cotton, second by Councilor Burke, all those in favor? Opposed? It is approved. Next item is item 9. It's the auctioneer resolutions. Any questions? I'll make that motion. Second.
Second.
Second by Councilor Cotton, all those in favor? Opposed? It is approved. Item 10 is an authorization for the supervisor to exercise the option to renew contract PSEI PSE 1-2014 monitoring, maintenance, and installation of alarms, fire, and intrusion detection with the Teltex Security Services. Any questions? Hearing on motion. Motion by Councilor Long, second. By Councilor Father, all those in favor? Opposed? It's approved. Item 11. Is an authorization for the supervisor to execute any and all documents necessary to apply for and accept funding from Suffolk County Deposit Community Development and Delinquency Prevention Programs. Any questions? Motion by Councilor Murphy, second by Councilor Barlow, in favor. Opposed? It is approved. Next item is the meeting of the Town of Essex Development Agency for promotion to be made
Motion to convene.
as the assessment board. There is motion in a second. The board is convened, formally present. Ms. Max.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the agency board. William Maddox, Executive Director, Town of Islip Industrial Development Agency, 40 Nassau Avenue, Islip. We have a number of items for your consideration this evening, the first of which is the approval of the minutes of the March 21st meeting.
Any questions on the minutes? Motion by Councilor Burton, second by Councilor Farn. Those in favor? Opposed? It is approved.
Next item on the agenda is a resolution appointing John Walzer as Deputy Executive Director. This is being done so we can have an extra signatory for any legal documents that have to be signed on behalf of the agency.
Motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilor Farn, second by Councilor Burton. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved.
Next item on the agenda is a new project. It's an inducement resolution for Hilo Maintenance Systems Incorporated, looking to purchase 845 South First Street in Ronkonkoma. Hilo is a company that sells, services, and rents material handling equipment, forklifts, and services and installs all types of dock, door, and facilities equipment. They are looking to move from the Smithtown portion of Hauppauge to that location in Ronkonkoma. They currently employ 104 people. They're looking to create an additional 14 jobs and invest $5.8 million into the project.
Are there any questions? Hearing none, motion? Motion by Councilman Long, second by Councilman Conklin, all those in favor? Opposed, is approved.
Next item on the agenda is also introducing a resolution, a new project involving Smart USA Incorporated. They're looking to purchase 1440 Fifth Avenue in Bay Shore. They currently operate in Queens, outside of our economic region. They are a manufacturer of aluminum and plastic food containers. They will be moving 35 jobs into our economic region and investing $9.6 million.
Are there any questions? Hearing none, motion? Motion by Councilman Flaherty, second by Councilman Burr, all those in favor? Opposed, is approved.
Next item on the agenda is a resolution authorizing the refinancing and execution of related loan documents for an existing IDA project. This is the second hotel being built in Central Islip under Bryad Lodging Group.
Any questions?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Cochran, second by Councilman Long, all those in favor? Opposed, it is approved.
Item 7 is a resolution authorizing agreement between the agency and CGR Center for Governmental Research. They provide the cost-benefit analysis online computer program that is required, cost-benefit analysis required for every project that we do.
Any questions? Hearing no motion? Motion by Councilman Flaherty, second by Councilman Long, all those in favor? Opposed, is approved.
Next item is an amendment to a resolution that was passed at our last meeting. There are 2 solar displays being leased on the roofs of 2 IDA buildings in Central Islip, 250 Creative and 555 Research. We passed the authorizing resolution last month, but the solar company actually changed its name between then and now, and we have to authorize under the new name.
Any questions? Motion? Motion by Councilman Cochran, second by Councilman Flaherty, all those in favor? Opposed, is approved.
Last item on the agenda is an authorizing resolution for Nature's Bounty Company, located in a variety of buildings in Bohemia and Ronkonkoma. We passed this inducement resolution at our last meeting.
Motion? Motion by Councilman Flaherty, second by Councilman Burr, all those in favor? Opposed, is approved. Is there any other business to come before us?
No, there isn't.
Thank you very much. Motion by Councilman Flaherty, Cochran to adjourn, second by Councilman Burr. The IDA agency board is hereby adjourned, and the regular business to come before the board shall come. Item 13 is authorization of supervisor to execute professional service agreement with Cornell Cooperative Extension of Suffolk County for dry water monitoring water quality sampling of storm water outflows for the town. Any questions? Hearing none, motion? Motion by Councilman Conley, second by Councilman Burr. All those in favor? Opposed, is approved. The next 3 items, 14 through 16, are for the supervisor to enter professional services agreement with Nelson Home Engineers and Surveyors for design services for downtown streetscapes projects for various towns. Item 14, the project is in East Islip, Suffolk County, round 9. Motion? Motion by Councilman Burr, second by Councilman Klein. All those in favor? Opposed, is approved. Number 15 is for project B in Islip, Suffolk County, round 9. Questions? Hearing none, motion? Motion by Councilman Klein, second by Councilman Cochran. All those in favor? Opposed, is approved. And 16 is for project C in Bayport. That's Suffolk County, round 10. Motion by Councilman Martin, second by Councilman Cochran. All those in favor? Opposed, is approved. Item 17 is authorization of supervisor to enter into a professional services agreement with LK McLean Associates for design services for downtown streetscapes project D in Central Islip, Suffolk County, round 10. Motion by Councilman Burton, second by Councilman Klein. All those in favor? Opposed, is approved. Item 18 is authorization of supervisor to enter into professional services agreement with LK McLean Associates for design services for downtown streetscapes project E in West Sable, Suffolk County, round 10. Motion by Councilman Holland, second
second by Council Capra. All those in favor? Opposed? We will move to 19 is authorization of the supervisor to enter into a professional services agreement with BAM A&G Group, City BAM and Son for design services for downtown streetscapes projects FNG in West Essex, Subcounty round 8. Any questions? Hearing none, motion by Council Capra, second by Council Fawnin. All those in favor? Opposed? Is approved. Item 20 is an authorization for the supervisor to enter into a professional services agreement with Nassau Oak Engineers and Slavers for project H in Sables and County Round 10. Motion by Council Mullins, second by Council Fawnin. All those in favor? Opposed? Is approved. Item 21. We've already acted on 22, the authorization to supervise the enter into emergency contract with J&K Industries, Inc. for the removal of solid waste services within the airport garbage district on Fire Island. Any questions? Hearing none, motion by Councilman Fawnin, second by Councilman Capra. All those in favor? Opposed? Is approved. Item 23 is authorization to supervise the apply for and separate funds for the New York State Department of State Costs Planning Development Fund purchase of additional equipment in the town's shellfish hatchery facility. Any questions? Hearing none, motion by Councilman Fawnin, second by Councilman Mullins. All those in favor? Opposed? Is approved. Item 24 is authorization to supervise the file a pre-application and application for state grant aid for municipal waste reduction and recycling project and signing of the associated state contract. Any questions? Hearing none, motion by Councilman Clark, second by Councilman Mullins. All those in favor? Opposed? Is approved. Item 25 is an authorization to supervise the enter into the 5-year option extension of the existing agreement with Douglas A. Richard for the continued operation of transform shellfish hatchery facility. Any questions? Hearing none, I'll make that motion in a second. Second by Councilman Fawnin. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved. Item 26 is the Henry Iceberg Resource Recovery Agency. Second by Councilman Cochran. The meeting is convened, formally present, and Mr. Howell.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the agency board. My name is Jim Heil, 401 East Main Street, Islip. The first is the approval of the minutes for the March 21st, 2017 agency board meeting.
Any questions on the minutes? Hearing none, motion? Motion by Councilman Clark, second by Councilman Mullins. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved.
Resolution authorizing the president to enter into an agreement with Pownell Environmental to provide for the transport and disposal of bulky solid waste from the multi-purpose recycling facility. This is the result of a public bid awarded to the low bidder.
Thank you. Any questions? Hearing none, motion? Motion by Councilman Mullins, second by Councilman Fawnin. All those in favor? Opposed? Is approved.
Resolution authorizing the president to execute a personal services agreement between the agency and Dr. Frank Rothel of Rothel Associates, also a professor at Stony Brook University, for consulting services relative to ash management and utilization of the agency's MacArthur Waste to Energy facility. This is for a 1-year contract not to exceed $5,000, and the purpose is to reduce the amount of ash going for disposal, either the weight or the content.
Any questions? Hearing none, motion? Motion by Councilman Cochran, second by Councilman Fawnin. All those in favor? Opposed? Is approved.
Next is a resolution authorizing the president to execute the memorandum of understanding between the agency's collection unit and the Teamsters Local 237, incorporating the terms of a new labor agreement for a 5-year period.
Any questions? I'll make that motion. Second? Second by Councilman Cochran. All those in favor? Opposed? Is approved. Item 6.
The final resolution is authorizing the president to enter into an agreement with Clearflow Technologies Incorporated for leachate disposal services as an alternate to the Bergen Point treatment facility. The contract will be awarded to Clearflow as a sole source provider as a special case exemption to the competitive bidding statutes. The proposed agreement with Clearflow is a successor to the existing agreement and will continue rates and terms effective in 2016. All rates will be lower than disposal fees at the parking point.
Any questions? Hearing none, motion? Motion by Councilor Mullen. Second by Councilor Fawley. All those in favor? Opposed? There are 4 in favor, 1 recusal. The resolution is approved.
That will be all for this evening.
Thank you very much, Mr. Howard. No further business. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion by Councilor Collins, second by Councilor Fawley. All in favor? Opposed? The agency will be adjourned. The next item is special events. There are carnivals, Memorial Day parades, local runs, etc. Any questions? Hearing none, motion? Motion by Councilor Murphy, second by Councilor Mullen. All those in favor? Opposed? Is approved. Item 28 is authorization to enter into a 1-year license agreement with Manning Cultural Maple LLC with utilization of 14 parking spaces and 6 boat slips and certain land located at the terminus of Maple Avenue, Bay Shore, with 2 additional 2-year options. Any questions? Hearing none, motion? Motion by Councilor Fawley, second. I'll second. All those in favor? Opposed? And 1 refusal. Item 9 is an authorization of the town clerk to advertise for a public hearing on the transfer of 22 William Avenue in Starceville and 1091 Manor Lane in Bay Shore under the CDA's direct sale form. Any questions? Hearing none, motion? Motion by Councilor Fawley, second by Councilor Cobb. All those in favor? Opposed? Agreed. Next is an authorization to supervise the executed amendment supplemental agreement with Northbound Local Aviation Services to provide for modification and extension for the construction schedules for the Whitney and Aero Trades parcels located at the airport. Under any questions? Hearing none, motion? Motion by Councilor Murphy, second. Second by Councilor Mullen. All those in favor? Opposed? Is approved. Item 31 is an authorization of the supervisor to exercise the option to renew the contract with Comco Group, contract RFP 2013-1 for the period June 1, 2017 through May 31st, 2018. Any questions? Hearing none, motion? Motion by Councilor Cobb, second. Second by Councilor Murphy. All those in favor? Opposed? Is approved. Item 32 is representing the supervisor to exercise the option to renew the agreement with Farmer Island Ferries, Inc. for Fritz Ferry Services for 1 additional 2-year period. Any questions? Hearing none, motion? Motion by Councilor Murphy. Second by Councilor Mullen. All those in favor? We have all in favor, 1 recusal. Motion is approved. Item 23 is authorization to supervise the exercise the option to renew the agreement with Farmer Island Ferries, Inc. for passenger ferry services for 1 additional 2-year period. Any questions? Hearing none. Motion? Motion by Councilor Murphy, second. Second by Councilor Fawley. All those in favor? Opposed? And 1 recusal. Motion is approved. Item 34 is authorization to supervise Part 1 reset funding for the subpayments to the aging SCLFA for extended in-home services for the elderly program ISIP for the period April 1st, 2017 through March 31st, 2018. Any questions? Hearing none, motion? Motion by Councilor Fawley, second by Councilor Cobb. All those in favor? Opposed? Is approved. The next item is authorization to supervise the executing agreement with the Bay Shore Chamber of Commerce and Sweet Melissa and the Chamber of Farm Table Management Inc. to provide a market at Dr. King's Park, Bay Shore, beginning on May 19th, as the ones market that started last year is quite popular. Any questions? Hearing none, motion? Motion by Councilor Cobb, second by Councilor Fawley. All those in favor? Opposed? Is approved. Item 36 is the board permit for ISO Code for Youth to utilize the town of ISO parking directly on Saturday, May 20th in order to host a community picnic for the less fortunate at Northwest Town. Any questions? Hearing none, motion? Motion by Councilor Murphy, second by Councilor Fawley. All those in favor? Opposed? Is approved. Next item is authorization to supervise and execute professional services agreement with Clarkville LLC for pay-by-cell phone service for the cannabis corporate facilities. Any questions? Hearing none, motion? Motion by Councilor Cobb, second. I'll second the motion. All those in favor?
Opposed? It is approved. Item 38 is an authorization to supervise the entry agreement with South Lake Paddle Cruises to provide 2 luncheon cruises with Chris and Paddle departing from the Mission Marina. Any questions? Hearing on motion?
Motion.
Motion by Council Hopkins, second by Councilman Flan. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved. 39 is an authorization to supervise and apply for the separate funding in the amount of $50,000 from the New York State Department of State for the Maple Avenue Dock Road Waste Pump-Out Station to the Southwest Sewer District. Any questions? Hearing none. Motion? Motion. Motion by Councilman Mullins, second by Councilman Burke. Councilman Burke, all those in favor? Opposed? It is approved. 40 is the authorization to supervise and enter into various services and programs or events to be held throughout the town, to be funded by either registration fees or land funds. Some incredible programs. I thank the commissioner and the staff, Carol and everyone that works on that. It's about 17 parents during the summer programs we have in the town. Any questions? Hearing on motion? Motion by Councilman Conrad, second by Councilman Murphy. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved. 41 is the appointment of Robert Hope as an alternate member to the Town of Essex Planning Board. Any questions? Hearing on motion? Motion by Councilman Biden.
Second.
Second by Councilman Coppin. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved. Item 42 is the appointment of Michael Moriarty as a member to the Essex Town Planning Board. Any questions? Hearing on motion by Councilman Coppin. Second. Second by Councilman Biden. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved. Item 43 is the reappointment of Donald Battaglia Jr. as a member to the Board of Assessment Review. Any questions? Hearing none. Motion by Councilman Vernon, second by Councilman Biden. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved. Item 44 is the authorization of control to make annual budgetary amendments needed to report the donation monies received and related expenses incurred to fund the track meter return program. It was well known to hear how successful it is so far. Thank you, Councilman Vernon. Any questions? Hearing none. Motion? Motion by Councilman Vernon, second by Councilman Biden. Opposed? It is approved. Item 45 is the board approval of the revised list of eligible participants for the 2016 Active Volunteer Local Service Award Program, LoSAP, for Bishop Ackworth Special Ambulance. Any questions? Hearing none. I'll make that motion. Second by Councilman Biden. All in favor? Opposed? It is approved. Item 46 is the board approval of the revised list of eligible participants for the 2016 Active Volunteer Local Service Award Program, LoSAP, for the City of Volunteer Ambulance Corps. Any questions? Hearing none, make that motion. Second by Councilman Biden. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved. 47, next item on the agenda is bond resolutions, and the order is a little different, so just check your packets. But I ask Joe Ludwig to please come forward. Actually, the first resolution, well, before we go into that, Joe, one of the speakers up here earlier talked about raising taxes and all. I would like to have you go on the record what the impact would be to the average taxpayer annually if all of our bonds that we put forward in this particular round of borrowing were removed.
Sure. Joseph Ludwig, Controller for the Town of Islip, 401 Main Street. With the roughly $30 million of projects that have been put before the board based on the 2017 assessed value information, the rough estimate would be about a $10 impact on the bottom line to each individual homeowner, to the average homeowner, I should say, if all the projects were approved.
Yes. And I just want to put on all of them. I know that there were some questions raised at the last meeting when we addressed some of these, so we gave Minister Chapel more time to go back to the commissioners and get comfort level with the fact that, you know, what had been initially requested by the department certainly wasn't what we were moving forward to. I think Joe, you can speak to that. But I'm glad that everyone had an opportunity to go back and get their questions answered. There was one change, was it not?
No.
All right, so the first one resolution that we have before us is for the animal shelter, and I know Jim Hyde was here, and he worked on that. and wanted to see if there was anything. I know a number of speakers spoke to the conditions. Is there anything that you felt needed to be added before we prepare to vote on this particular conversation?
Madam Supervisor and the Board, thank you for the opportunity to address you on this issue. The previous speakers really spoke eloquently on the condition of the thing, if one could speak eloquently on the condition of the shelter. I just tell you, just in the past few months since I've been commissioner, we've repaired the roof on numerous occasions. Food for the animals is stored in an outdoor shed, not in the shelter itself. Replaced the hot water heater, the 220-gallon hot water heater. Replaced the washing machine and the dryer. We did parking lot repairs. Serviced the drains in the kennels, which are routinely clogged. Replaced 3 windows and frames. Repaired the original 50-year-old plus freezer with seals, motor, compressors, and constant repairs to the HVAC system. It's almost a weekly issue where we send crews there, try to do it ourselves, and trying to do a good job just to keep the facility going. The crew does very well over there, considering it, and I would ask for your support on a new facility. Thank you very much.
Are there any questions to the Commissioner? I just have a couple of questions. Commissioner, this $5.5 million animal shelter, just a question of every the square footage on that?
That's good. Quite frankly, I don't remember. It was in the handout that I provided everybody. I don't know, you can do the building, you can do the ed runs, so there are different square footages, but I don't have that information specifically now.
I know that there's been talk over the years of possibly selling a piece of land and the piece of land next door to the animal shelter to a Costco or to a developer who would potentially want to buy it. Are we in any moral understanding or contract of sale at the time, at the moment?
I would refer that to the town attorney. I will leave that up to him to respond.
Yeah, I really can't comment on that right now. I mean, that's it's a potential, pending there's potential litigation that could be pending, but the court's comment.
It's my understanding that historically the shelter has been a chess piece in that move, and I felt that by facilitating the movement of the shelter and a new shelter, that would free that piece from the negotiations and perhaps facilitate the sale, because there were varying thoughts about the economics of the shelter, and I thought if we moved, that would free the piece and be able to move that arrangement forward.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Okay, is there a motion?
Motion.
The motion by Councilor Cochran, second. Second by Councilor Fire, roll call and bundle.
Supervisor Carpenter.
Yes.
Councilwoman Thurman.
Yeah.
Councilwoman Cochran.
Yes.
Councilman Warren.
Yes.
Councilwoman Knoll.
No.
Motion fails.
Okay, we will move then to, thank you, Commissioner. We will move to item 3, and this is,
I was just number 1 to see what
okay, item 2, and I would ask Commissioner of Parks, Tom Owens, if he would come forward. This resolution is for the improvements to marinas located specifically to the Bayshore Marina.
Sure. Good evening, Supervisors, Town Board members. Basically, this is the last phase of a project that started a number of years ago to protect and fix the infrastructure of the Bayshore Marina, which is unfortunately falling into the bed.
Are there, there are some photographs here, we can see the condition of the sidewalks and the boardwalk and level. It kind of looks like accidents waiting to happen. The did you say this is the final phase of that whole marina project?
Of the bulkhead project, that's right.
So this is, for anyone who may not be familiar, at the end of Clinton, where the Bayshore Marina is located, and we have the water park, we have the restaurant, we have the ferries taking off from there, we have an incredibly active fishing pier, and thanks to Lake Senator Owen Johnson, who asked the tremendous amount of grant money for that pier. You can go down there anytime, almost year round. There are a tremendous amount of people down there fishing. And quite frankly, it's long overdue. So I hope there's support for this particular project. So, hearing, are there any questions? Yes.
Was this accelerated, this dock washout after Hurricane Irene, the sand that's flowing out between the bulkheads, right? Is that what?
Yes, the tide comes in, there's rough water, it sucks the sand out because of the openings in the bulkhead, which is preventing us from paving the parking lot. So
there's other, and we have the dredge as well.
So yes, we have the dredge, losing some slip rental because those slips near the bulkhead are filling up with sand. Now, they're not deep enough to house the boats there.
Commissioner, this $4.25 million bulkhead improvement project, I know we have received grant money in the past to do a lot of the other work that we have done in the past. Is there any attempt or maybe thought that perhaps in the future we can get $4.25 million in a grant again to finish this project?
I guess anything's possible. We found in government that, where a lot of the grants are drying up. Pardon the pun, but I mean, it's a policy decision that if the bond doesn't pass, that's a decision we could consider.
As well as my other question, as Councilor Cochran had mentioned, that some of this damage happened during Sandy. Were we able to get some relief from insurance money?
My understanding is all the money that we received has already come in, and I don't believe that. I don't think there's any money. I don't think there's any money. I got to be honest with the council. It's a pretty bad situation down there.
Commissioner, I see Tony D'Amico on the back. He had worked probably tirelessly more than anyone on the grant recoveries that were possible from FEMA because of Storm Sandy. And I think there were some discussions on this, but what is the status? Is there any possibility for any kind of grant money for this?
No, not from Sandy.
Okay, so the expression goes, Rome was built to the dead, right? So I don't know that I could, in good conscience, go from what we typically borrow is about $15 million a year for infrastructure improvements, then to double that and go to $30 million. I can't, in good conscience, do that to the taxpayers of this town. So while some of these are noble projects and projects that I think if we can each year tackle another project, then it could gain my support.
Any other questions?
Question. Commissioner, you mentioned dredging with respect to this bond. Just to be clear, this dredging would not encompass any other areas. For example, it would not encompass Round River and Sayville. It's strictly for Bayshore. Is that correct?
That's correct. Bayshore, there might be, we do anticipate, depending on how the bid comes back, we do anticipate possibly some engineering and consulting might be left over to use for West Side Slope. And that would depend on how it's bonded and direction from the controller.
But I think that in the past, in the past several weeks, I received calls to my office regarding this particular bond, and people were under the impression that it also contained money for dredging in Browns River, but that is not accurate. Is that correct?
That's correct. That's correct.
Thank you.
To the question of what we traditionally borrow every year, is it $15 million that we traditionally fund?
When I started here back in 2007, our borrowing was in the 15 to 16 million range. Since that time, as the cost of everything has grown, our borrowing has grown. So in 2016, I believe our total bond sale was about $22 million. So the number that Councilman Bergen had mentioned was from 2007, 8, 9 realm. And like I said, with everything after Katrina and all the petroleum-based products, all prices started to rise. The amount of work we could do was less, so we had to start borrowing more. Obviously, everything keeps going up in price as well, so therefore our total borrowing has gone up. And then, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but just, there was one thing that was mentioned earlier by one of the speakers about the length of our debt service, and being that you find folks are currently voting on the bond resolutions, I just want to make sure it's clear. We do not borrow for 30 years. The way the town borrows the money, it's done on a weighted average, so it's dollar amount multiplied by the PPU, as the supervisor had mentioned. Our average borrowing is paid off within 15 years, generally speaking. Within the projects you have before you, there are some longer term with big dollar amounts. I know the animal shelter just got voted down, but if that was to get put up at a later point in time, that could potentially extend the debt service payment, but not really beyond probably 16 or 17 years at max. So the concept that we're paying for things for 30 years and the equipment was used up after year 10, that does not happen. So
This particular borrowing is a 20-year borrowing.
If it all went through again, when we did the average, when bond counsel and our fiscal advisor do the calculations, it could come out to be a 17-year payoff. But again, it's relatively within our normal range. I believe 2 years ago we had a payment that was 14 years, just because of how the dollars played out with the PPUs on the project that were approved. But generally speaking, we're in the 15-year range.
Any other questions?
Quick question to Mr. Ludwig. You said before that we did all this bonding just in general, it was about $10 a taxpayer. Did you subtract from that the amount of bonds that we retire each year or finish paying off? Was that in your calculation?
No, that was just the cost of what this bond issue would be. Councilman, you make a very good point. We do pay off close to $20 million worth of debt on an annual basis. This obviously, as Councilman Bergen has pointed out, is larger than normal. So really the increase is about an additional $10. But the $10 was just on this bond issue. It wasn't really an impact budgetarily going forward. It was just what the cost of this bond issue would be.
So, using that round numbers like 30 million with borrowing, 20 million with retirement, you're saying it's more like, what dollars it would feel like per household to get all these things?
I would have to do the math, but the net increase could be somewhere much less than the $10, yes.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Hearing none, motion? Motion by Councilman Conrad, second. Second by Councilman Klein, roll call on vote.
Supervisor Carpenter?
Yes.
Councilman Berg? No. Councilman Cochran?
Yes.
Councilman Warren?
Yes.
Councilwoman Mullin?
No.
Bond Gale, I apologize.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move to number 3. And this is a 4-year bond. Well, actually, like, it's very strange improvements, $800,000. Commissioner Owens, do you get calls for flooding repairs and drainage improvements towards the town?
Yes, this is what we bond every year. We could easily go to $1 million a year, especially in our low-lying communities. We struggle here with, with tide rising, and especially at this end, we have a contract where we do some small in-house drainage, but considering we have prevailing wage and the apprenticeship program, it's very expensive for us to do drainage, and we can walk through that without a problem. It's certainly necessary, in my opinion.
Any questions on the drainage improvements? Hearing none, motion? Motion by Councilman Bergen. Second by Councilman Fowler, roll call on vote.
Supervisor Carpenter?
Yes.
Councilwoman Bergen? Yes. Councilman Cochran?
Yes.
Councilman Warren?
Yes.
Councilwoman Mullin?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. Next we go to item 4, which includes the radios, parking lot improvements, the speakers that spoke on this. This is $2.15 million of bonds for various projects, 10-year PPU. Are there any questions specifically on this? One of the speakers, I think it was Mr. Gavin, who spoke about the sidewalks outside his home and had to walk his road. I noticed here that we have quite a sizable amount of money for sidewalk improvements townwide, many sidewalk parks. Some parks have no accessible walkways to enter. This also calls for parking lot improvements town-wide, and I know that, we can look at many of them and see how much in disrepair they are. Just have to go outside and look at the parking lot here. We're having Farmers Market there this summer, and I just hope no one trips. Are there any questions on this particular bond issue? Hearing none, motion? Motion by Councilor Mullins, second by Councilor Flaherty. Roll call on the bottom.
Supervisor Carter?
Yes.
Councilwoman Burton? No. Councilman Cochran?
Yes.
Councilman Palmer?
Yes.
Councilwoman Mullins?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. The last item on the bonding is the 3 to 5 year projects. This includes hardware and monitors for the dispatch center. And Commissioner, would you please come forward?
So in regards to this particular bond, with the radio room, it's we're going to expand, or we're looking to expand the amount of monitors in the radio room, as well as some of the equipment as well. So the monitors have been helpful to us, and as the video equipment has as well. Even going back to about the last 2 weeks ago, with the incident that happened over in Clayton Avenue Park, some of the video that we did capture was helpful with the police in their investigation. So we'd like to expand that a little bit more to help with those type of incidents.
With the expansion of videos, will they be able to be monitored in real time?
They will, yes. And unfortunately, right now we have 3 cameras or 3 monitors right now. So we were able to view 3 different locations. With the 8 monitors up, it'll just add to the amount that we can actually view from the radio room in real time.
At that meeting that I referred to earlier in Central Islip, there was sort of unanimity amongst the requests from the people there, and Councilman Cochran and Flaherty can attest to it. We're concerned about their safety. They want more patrols in the park, they want more cameras in the park, they want more lights in the park, they want sidewalks in the park, they want things to be safe. And this particular body resolution, even though in comparison to some of the others is only 3.5 million, it includes a lot of the things that will enable us to provide that sense of security and safety for our residents. Not the least of which is our IT equipment. And the IT equipment that we have now, come January, will no longer be able to be used. So that puts us in a very precarious position, and really a very difficult position for our IT commissioner, because he has a responsibility as a commissioner to maintain the safety and security of our systems. And to think of them being compromised would be really kind of unfortunate. Are there any other questions or comments on this particular resolution? Sure.
Commissioner, some of the speakers tonight talked about the parking program for Bay Shore as well as Islip. Part of the parking management program for the town is securing sites with video. Have you or MTA or Third Precinct utilized any of our footage from our cameras in any areas they have them?
Yes, we have 2 incidents that occurred in recent past at the Bay Shore train station, probably within the last 6 months. One was an arson. We were able to identify the perpetrator walking away from the van that he set on fire. Another incident was recently I'd say about 5 weeks ago. There was a stabbing in the parking lot of the Bay Shore train station, and we were able to get 2 of the suspects running from the location. And that was it. We were able to give that back almost instantaneously to the police department. They actually arrested the 2 people that ran from the scene
of the stabbing a couple blocks away. So it's been very helpful for both us, Suffolk County PD and MTA.
You have good confidence into that?
We have great, great relationships with the local police. Thank you.
Joe, some of the items in here qualify that in the funding that will be reimbursed for.
That's correct. Again, just to reiterate, several years ago, through a variety of storms that came through, and Tony can correct me if I get any of this incorrect, but it was a series of storm after storm after storm. So the first storm was declared, we were going to start doing some repair work, and then Hurricane Irene hit. Then we were going to do some repair work, and then Superstorm Sandy hit. So ultimately what happened is that there were funds that were allocated by FEMA, and basically, what's the technical term?
Alternate project.
The FEMA had set aside funds for us. The state advocated on our behalf for FEMA to release those funds to us as an alternate project. So obviously we did not do the renourishments and the other damage that was done. We did not fix it because of the subsequent storms, but we were allowed to turn them into alternate projects. And basically what that means is instead of getting a $4 million repair job, very simplistically put, we can turn that into $3.1 million of equipment and other items that we can use, the radios being something that was discussed earlier. And so for a mere 12.5% cost, that's the town share, we can get approximately $3.1 million, whatever the actual number was, of new equipment, new vehicles, et cetera, et cettra.
When that request first came in, and there was a meeting with Tom and Tony and a few others, but FEMA was the state was very specific in saying that they wanted almost like projects ready to go. They didn't want anything that was going to trigger an environmental. They wanted to close some of these projects, so we had to do other things that we could prove we needed, but that we could purchase right away and not have something lingering because they wanted to close it. So if we don't really take advantage of it now, I don't think there'll be another bite of the apple as far as this money is concerned, just a little square. Correct?
Correct.
Another question? Sure.
Joe Buckley, this is the bond resolution that has installation of more equipment to do more metering throughout the town, the parking meter program. Where would these meters go?
The next plan, the next phase, if you prefer, is to take care of the downtown Islip area, which would be the Main Street and the back lots. And then we'll start working on the Oakdale train station and the Great River train station.
And the Islip train station too?
Islip train station was already covered through the first round of borrowing, so that is something that should be going into place. I don't want to put a specific timeline, I'm not sure when. They could have been done already, but the LIRR was doing some work on the tracks, so it pushed our time frame back. But the Islip train station will be metered, and Councilman Cochran, I don't know if you know more specific time, but should be metered soon, I would believe. But those meters have already been paid for.
Joe, we have to do the infrastructure, curbing and everything else around the train station and Islip before the LIRR. So that's another bird is grabbing us, curbs and starting and asphalt done for the train station.
Okay.
Is there a projected amount that this investment in the parking management program will generate to the town, to the general fund?
Yeah, in previous board meetings, the town board has authorized contracts with Level G Associates. They have been our partner in the parking program, and through their experience, they can estimate how much we're going to, I don't want to say make, but how much revenue will be derived from the meter program. And based on their estimates, the meter program basically pays for itself and then some. So again, I heard a speaker speak before that the money that's derived from the meter program goes into the general fund. And I think, and it was kind of hard to hear, but I think the question was then followed up with was, well, how do we know that it's going in to improve or to take care of these train stations and the parking lots and such? And the answer is, we're doing it already. We levy taxes to do all this work at the train stations and in the parking lots and all those other locations. This revenue source that would come in, while it's not specifically dedicated towards those projects, it reduces the need to have to potentially levy additional taxes to do the same work we've been doing. It becomes a new revenue source to the town and not have to do through taxes. So there is a subtle direct line from the monies that come in from the parking meter program towards the maintenance that we're doing in these back lots, the train station lots, the maintenance that we have to do.
It was also money here for planning, as far as tree replacement, but also the acquisition of a plotter. And I hope I'm getting this right, but wasn't, this needed for some document, reproduction, especially when it came to adhering to some of the road requests that our plotter is practically useless?
I believe that is correct, but I'm going to get it more wrong than what you just said, so I would have to defer to Commissioner Meyer for more specifics on that. Sorry, Ron, didn't mean to really do that, but
I'm here anyway. Hi, Ron Meyer, Commissioner Planning, 655 Main Street. Correct, in this bond issue, amongst a few cars for replacement in the planning department, which we're in need of, and says, again, a lot of our work is depending on field work and inspectors. There is a plotter. A plotter is a large format scanner printer in which all of the floor requests in the lower level of this building are done through that equipment. It's on its last legs, it's exceeded its shelf life, so we do need to replace that equipment, and it is kind of expensive.
But that was a FEMA reimbursement?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, no cost to the taxpayers. Any other questions?
Any questions for Mr. Ryan over here?
Nothing for Ms. Meyer. Joe? The FEMA money, when is the cutoff? Is there a cutoff date or something that we have to have this all sealed up?
I know, again, going back to last September, last October, and Tony, when you want to...
Bill now.
Appreciate that.
So you're welcome. So we submitted all of the information to the state rep who's in conversation with FEMA right now. So we've already produced all the information to them. What their request was at that meeting that we had for the purchase of equipment was basically they want us to get the work done within 6 to 12, or the purchase is done within 6 to 12 months. They want to close the books on the projects and seal them out. These are from 2009, 2010. So they're looking to close them. So they want us to make the purchases fairly quickly.
And the projects will be submitted, so we've got that first round of approval?
We got the nods. There was only one question. It was really more of a, a place for a generator to be placed. GPS points, it wasn't much of a question. So.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay.
Supervisor, prior to voting on this bond, there's many items in here. I just have a motion, I need a motion to remove one of those items that we would vote on, and that would be the installation of parking meters for $400,000. I just said that.
There's a motion and a second to adjust this particular bonding resolution to remove the money for the parking meter program, which I think we heard is going to generate revenue in the long term to the town, to benefit the residents that will enable us to do necessary repairs and everything. We have a motion and a second. There's no roll call necessary on a motion to adjust. So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Opposed.
Opposed. The motion to adjust it is approved. So we have the adjusted resolution before us, which removes the parking meter money from the bonding resolution. The vote is to take out numbers 2 to 3, or is it 2 to 3? Yes. You only need your votes 2.
Wait a minute, let me clarify, because I only had one opposition.
No, we both opposed.
Okay, you also, the supervisor, okay, thank you.
The motion to amend was approved 3-2.
Yes.
And it was Councilwoman Bergen, actually it's Councilwoman Hartman and Councilwoman Supervisor.
Right.
Mayor, can you motion, I need to second, I get that, thank you.
Before we go to the vote on this, if if this were to be approved, would that adjustment be made, that particular item being removed? And we're going to come back a couple of months from now with another resolution to bond for the parking equipment for the next meeting. Would that incur a cost to us in having a separate bond instead of having the rest of these?
Yes, the way bond council works is they charge us per resolution. I believe the cost is $1,250, but don't quote me on that. So every time there's a resolution put before the board, that's the fee. So if that came up as a secondary item or as a standalone item, that would be an additional $1,250 or something.
All right, do I have a motion to approve this particular bond resolution with the adjustment?
Yes.
Motion by Councilman Warren. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Councilman Long. Roll call on the bond.
Supervisor Carpenter?
No.
Councilwoman Burton?
Yes.
Councilman Conklin?
Yes.
Councilman Breimer?
Yes.
Councilwoman Mullen?
Yes.
Motion passes. As amended.
Thank you. Okay, we now go to item 48. There's no position. The supervisor to enter into an agreement with Samwood Inc. to repair, upgrade, and operate the town-owned dwelling at Atlantic Marine. Any questions? Hearing on the motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Cochran, second by Councilman Long. All those in favor? Opposed?
I understand.
An abstention by Councilman Bergen. Item 49 is the approval to designate the second full week in May as Women's and Men's Health Week. Any questions? Hearing on the motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Long, second by Azar. All those in favor? Opposed? Item 50 is acceptance of the third annual action plan for the town of Lexington 2019 consolidated strategy and plan submission for housing and development programs, and represent the supervisor to execute any documents required for plan and budget for fiscal year 2017. Any questions? Hearing on the motion?
Motion.
We have a motion and a second on 50. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved. There are no other items to come before us. The table is adjourned.
Motion adjourned.
Motion by Councilman Cochran, second. By Councilman Klein, all those in favor?
Motion and second on the
I make the motion. By Councilman Cochran, second
When did paying for airfare become so unfair? At Southwest, we do things differently. So differently, we invented a word for it: transparency. Transparency means we don't dream up ways we can trick you into paying more. It means respect. Because we don't just fly you, we like you.